Prime Minister Honorable Deacon Mitchell says budget consultation is crucial to help him fulfill his government's plans and policies. Details to this story and more in the National Report. Welcome back. With the details to the news for Thursday, October 6, 2022, I am Sherry Ann Noel. Prime Minister Honorable Deacon Mitchell has spoken to the importance of the just concluded budget consultation in fulfilling the plans and policies outlined in the election manifesto. During the final session, which was held virtually on Wednesday, Prime Minister Mitchell said the process is crucial to assist in his ministry, which to some extent is still transitioning.
The consultations underscore for us the importance of getting active participation from the nation, active participation from stakeholders in the budget process. And so I'm truly grateful to all of you who are on this call and to all of those who have, prior to this call, been part of the budget consultation process. We want ordinary citizens to be part and parcel of the process because while the cabinet, while individual ministers, while MPs, while the budget officers, Pierre Sylvester and his team at the Ministry of Finance may come up with budget proposals, and while they may be adopted by cabinet and ultimately form the basis of an appropriation bill, if we do not have the input from persons, if the budget ultimately does not reflect the goals, the aspirations of the people themselves, and if they do not believe in it, then in a sense, our strategic focus and our goals and objectives will not reflect the desires and the wish of the population.
The budget consultation process targeted a wide cross-section of groups and individuals and was also held at the parish level. It was held to report to identify proposed key priorities for government for the 2023 budget and to facilitate dialogue and collaboration among stakeholders towards the achievement of government's goals and objectives. Honorable Deacon Mitchell said it's absolutely important to take the budget process and the consultation seriously.
The truth is, there are some places where the ability of the citizen to take part in such a process does not exist. And so we see it as fundamental to the democratic process, and we see it as a wonderful opportunity for stakeholders to help shape the government's policies, the government's strategic focus, and the agenda.
A synopsis of the broad emerging themes with reference to the government's 5 overarching pillars: economic transformation, environmental management, citizen empowerment, government and institutional building, and foreign policy were presented by Acting Deputy Permanent Secretary Siobhan Britton.
3 main points here for economic transformation. There was a lot of conversation about the ease of doing business, on digitalization, as well as major infrastructure overhaul needed in the country. And I will speak to them in broad terms. So in terms of ease of doing business, there was a call for us to really streamline the processes that we have, integrating technology in our day-to-day business, as well as in some of our regular practices. And by technology, we may not necessarily mean a computer per se, but a new way of doing something or a more efficient way of doing something. And it was noted that in some of our processes, like even in the construction sector, the world has moved on from basic paintbrushes and so on, and using different tools to get the job done. So we should really look into how we can integrate new technologies into our economy to help them be more efficient and effective. Also, especially in the outer parishes, there was a call for the decentralization of commercial activity. And this was echoed in a few other rural parishes where government services and also business services, there was a call for them to be closer to them than us having to, and I say us because I'm also from a rural parish, having to go to St. George's to do business.
Mike Sylvester, Permanent Secretary in the Prime Minister Ministry, is pleased with the level of dialogue and the important suggestions that were brought forward.
I like many of the suggestions. And I think if the idea or the goal is transformation, I think some of those that would have been mentioned, including the bushing program, I think, and the way that could be transformed, I think is something that is low-hanging fruit that could be easily implemented. We heard the Imani program and how that could be reimagined. I think that again is an important and low-hanging fruit that could be considered. The school feeding program, and in terms of what is happening in the schools and how that could be reimagined and also have linkages with agriculture, have a linkage with health to ensure that we increase the food and nutrition security in our schools, starting with the school children. I think that's also an important point that I take away from this. We have the issue with the renewable energy. I know Mr. Fielding mentioned a solar panel or solar panels on every roof. I'm not sure how practical that is, but it's an idea. It's a strategy that could be explored in as far as possible.
After a 5-year hiatus, the Grenada Bar Association will host the Sir Archibald Ned Memorial Lecture. President Derek Sylvester says it comes at a time when the public is yearning for information on the judicial system. The topic to be presented is mob justice versus real justice, sentencing, social media, and the rule of law. It will be delivered by Chief Justice Dame Janice M. Pereira. The lecture is scheduled for 6:30 p.m. on Thursday, October 13th at the Grenada Trade Center.
We believe that at a time like now, it is apt to have those discussions because many times persons would have a particular skewed view, especially on social media and otherwise, in relation to the principles of sentencing. And the principles of sentencing, it's a touchy topic, but it's principles that are guided along legal lines. So for example, sentencing is not just pulled off a hat. In 2020, we passed the sentencing guidelines. So judges and magistrates, they have a responsibility to go through various phases to determine exactly how do you arrive at a sentence. And I believe the public needs to understand that.
Mr. Sylvester says sentencing is personal to the offender, as one person may get a particular sentence and another person with different circumstances with the same offense may get a different sentence.
This is a very topical issue at this time, and I'm encouraging members of the public to come to the Trade Center on the 13th of October at 6:30 p.m. I could assure them that this lecture is going to be an interesting one, and they would have the opportunity to ask questions and to get feedback. So in other words, it's an educational session. Not having this lecture for the last 5 years and having it this year has been a project that the bar has embarked upon, and we've worked hard to ensure that it is done.
While he's not in a position to speak in detail on the content of justice presentations, the Bar Association president gave hints as to what the focus might be.
It would speak to what is the state of the law in relation to sentencing, and it may also touch on issues in relation to the expectation of the public, the rule of law, social media, and so I best to leave it in the hands of the Chief Justice who would speak on it. But what I could assure you is that it would deal with all the issues in relation to sentencing, issue in relation to social media, and how the law should treat those things, how it should be dealt with.
The president of the bar says it is a hope of the association that after the staging of the lecture on October 13th, the society will be in a better position to understand the role of a judicial officer in sentencing and the fact that it is a legal process that should not be guided by emotions. This is the National Report. The news will continue after the break.
Prepare for hurricane. Prepare for hurricane. Make sure you have your radio and your batteries too. Waterproof flashlight candles will do. Tin stuff, garbage bag, first aid kit. Come on people, make sure you have it. Clean water in a container and a hurricane plan. Hear me no man.
Hurricane damage is beyond your control. Surviving the aftermath is up to you. Have a hurricane plan. It can save your life and your family too.
Prepare for hurricane. Your hair, prepare for hurricane.
Men and boys who are victims of domestic, sexual, or child abuse are being urged to reach out to the Special Victims Unit of the Criminal Investigations Department. That appeal by Detective Samika Ferrer, who was a guest on the program One-on-One with the RGPF on Wednesday. She said the Special Victims Unit, which has been in existence for the past 4 years, has seen a very low turnout of the male population seeking help for abuse.
If you're being abused, be it domestic violence or sexual abuse, we encourage you to come forward. Some of you might complain that, okay, you are discriminated against, maybe by a particular station or entity, or someone within your community might tell you move there and sit down. We're encouraging you to come forward and make a report. We are here for you. We are here to protect you. We are here to ensure that you get the service that you so desire. Bring the perpetrator to justice. Also, victims, we encourage you to make reports in a timely manner. Yes, sometimes it's difficult, but we can channel you to the right direction, be the Ministry of Social Development or the Child Protection Authority, the entity that's responsible for victims, especially children under the age of 16, to protect your child.
Detective Ferrer also warned parents and guardians who knowingly withhold information of abuse of children that there is a hefty fine that can be imposed by law for such actions.
Parents, remember that you can be charged for mandatory reporting. We can charge you for that if you fail to report. So if you're the guardian of a child and you fail to report sexual abuse or sexual assault, in what form, be it indecent assault or sexual assault, you can be prosecuted for the offense. All right. So you have a fine of $15,000 or 7 years imprisonment. So I encourage you to come forward, speak out, speak up, and let's stomp the dirty man under our feet.
The Ministry of Education, Youth, Sports and Culture is inviting long-distance runners from schools, clubs and the public to participate in the National Cross Country Championship, which commences on Saturday, 8 October 2022 in St. Andrew. Saturday's race will begin at the St. Andrews Anglican Secondary School playing field in Telescope.
This first race will be starting at the SAS playing field, SAS grounds in Grenville. The race will go along the back road down the hill to the Progress Park, out to the roundabout, over the bridge to the roundabout, up to Pearls Airport, Dunfermline, and come back to Paradise, and back up alongside the playing field, Progress Park, and back to SAS playing field.
That was Albert Joseph, senior coach in the Ministry of Education, Youth, Sports and Culture, who is responsible for athletics. Registration will be done on site at SAS playing field. Transportation is also available from various points on the island to afford interested persons the opportunity to register and be on time for the race.
The races are for schools, primary, secondary, clubs, anybody interested. So we will have 2 large buses leaving St. George's. One, well, they will go over the hills. We have them starting at around NIS, Republic Bank area in town. Okay, hopefully we will have one leaving Guav gas station, going up on the western side to Grenville. A couple of the schools will organize their buses.
Coach Joseph says some schools and clubs have already confirmed their participation in the championship, and he is looking forward to a good turnout on Saturday. Other preliminary races will be held in St. David on October 15th and Tantine St. George's on October 22nd. This year's championship is sponsored by Blue Bubbles. And with that story, we come to the end of the National Report for Thursday, October 6th, 2022. On behalf of the entire news and production team, I am Sherry Ann Noel, thanking you for viewing.